This is episode 12 of Dust War Journals, and my name is Johannes, also known on the internet as Frankie. And with me today is...
Magnus, known as Magoff or Magwis on the forums.
And no Ludde! It's just you and me today.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, we are one man short today.
Yeah, and we actually, to be frank, we were kind of lucky to be even two of us able to get the same.
It was kind of difficult to get the schedules going here.
Yeah, all of us have had just crazy schedules for the last few weeks. Personally, this is one of the only 2 days that I'm available for almost a month. So luckily we're going to get this, but so as you can probably guess, I haven't really had much hobby time.
Really?
No, unfortunately not.
All right, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yeah, that's the way of the world. And for you, any projects started or ended?
Not really. Still several of them continuing. Actually, just the other day I went back to one of my terrain pieces a bit. The big oil derrick moving stuff. There was some lighting. Some LED lights in it, but they were not very visible. I wasn't really happy about them. So I actually removed them all and then put them back, but on the outside, so to speak, and made them more visible. So I'm still working on that to make them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were kind of subtle. Maybe that would have worked well with the fog machine Kickstarter thing. That's it's kind of a hype now.
Maybe, but those the LED lights I got for it was a bit too weak, and they are like a very soft light. So you need basically to have a dark room to see them.
Oh, yes.
But when they are on the outside, you can see them just fine. So I think it's gonna work.
Yeah, that's great. For me, I'm mostly in the planning stages, so I'm hoping I've mentioned it before. I'm in the process of moving. So when I'm not out traveling for my job, I'm just putting all the stuff in boxes. So most of my hobby stuff is now in boxes as well, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But I have some project that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to have a lot more space after the move to work on my stuff and also to actually use the stuff. So I'm at least planning to do kind of a big push forward on my terrain pieces, so I can get at least one big kind of gridded table with a lot of nice terrain pieces. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Yeah, sounds great.
There's been a few new releases since last time. There were the big one of Operation Condor that's now available to purchase. I actually got mine, the physical copy. Mm-hmm. And it looks great with the kind of half embossed, kind of glossy, half glossy kind of cover. It's great. You also get some, which we didn't know at the time because we only went from a PDF last time. You also get a few extras with it. You get some new tokens, the new cardboard templates for the new advanced gridless rules, and you also get 2, I think it is, posters.
Okay.
So that's really nice. Some extra little feelies that you can decorate your house with. That's great.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Other new releases, we got the Hero Maggie for the Desert Scorpions. This figure has been available before, but not to purchase. It's been available as a tournament prize or tournament participation award, depending on the tournament. Yeah. But now it's available to purchase for anyone. And I kind of like her. She's an interesting character, but I'm not so sure about the effectiveness of her. She's really, really cool and thematic.
Yeah, absolutely. I like her, but I haven't really played her. It was one of the other guys played her at Dust Nordic then, basically because he just got her. So he played her in the big battle afterwards. And yeah, she's cool and I think she can be good, but she's also a bit difficult. yeah, a bit difficult to play, I would say.
She's very thematic. I love the fact that, for those who haven't seen her, she's a sniper hero with a crossbow. And that means that when she fires, she does not lose camouflage. So that's kind of her flavor rules, so to speak.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Really, really cool. The other big release, of course, was the new starter box for the PLA, the new SSU faction.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the Assault Squad, we got the Tropical KV Walkers. I forget which one at the moment, I'm sorry. I think it's the Nina, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, Nina. It's Nina.
Yeah.
Tropical
And
Nina.
not one, but two new heroes. And these definitely deserve a mention. The Dragon and the Phoenix.
Yes.
Kind of rules-wise, they are very interesting because you can run them as separate heroes, or you can run them together as basically a single hero. They can combine into a unit, so they can either join up with each other, or join separate squads, or join one squad together. So that's 7 figures in one squad, and they kind of complement each other pretty well as well. With their special abilities.
Yeah, they look really interesting actually, and they give you a lot of flexibility. Like you say, you can join them however you like, and I mean they have 3 damage each.
Yeah.
So that's 6 additional damage to one unit, for example. That could be, yeah.
And that's a lot for, especially for a Soldier 1 squad.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's 4 points of damage without losing any effectiveness at all in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot in any squad.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's been discussed a lot on the internet that hasn't really got a good answer is, how does these guys combine with Commissar Poon?
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know yet. It does look like Commissar Poon is a hero, and normally you can't have 2 heroes joined in one squad. The Dragon and the Phoenix is the special exception to that. So that would mean that you can't join them in the same unit as those 2, or as any of them. But there also was kind of a hint that would be possible before we got the cards released.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really know yet. Well, another kind of interesting thing is that, at least on the cards that are available on the official website, the Dragon and the Phoenix does not have hero printed on their card.
Yeah, that's true. And I asked Olivier about this and got confirmation that it's a typo.
Yeah.
Of course, they are both heroes, and he will clarify this in short future.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we all expected.
Yeah, it would just be silly if they weren't heroes, basically. So.
Yeah, and that would mean that, as the rule stands now, no, Commissar Poon cannot join a unit with either of those 2.
Yeah, I mean, clarification is of course nice to have, so
Yes.
everyone knows for sure. But I'm fairly sure that they are all, those three are all heroes. So the only exception is the twins. They can be placed in the same unit together. Otherwise, you cannot join any other hero.
Yeah, and that's powerful enough, basically.
Yeah, I mean, 3 heroes in one squad sounds a bit too good to me.
But if there exists at some point a normal non-hero commissar for Soldier 1, then that unit should absolutely, that commissar should be able to join the unit with the Dragon and the Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would still mean 8
Yeah.
in one.
It's still gonna be a tough unit.
Oh yes.
At the same time, a lot of points in one unit, one place on the board, but yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see what these guys can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, together they have a really impressive and interesting combination of skills.
That's true. The combination can be very interesting. First off, we have the Phoenix, 6 points. That's the the male. I think the thing is that one of them is male and one of them is female. Try to look close. No, the dragon is the male one. The dragon is 7 points. Has the first strike and the infantry ace skills. The phoenix has 6 points and has the, let's see if it can load.
Assassin and the black ops.
Yes. And the interesting thing is that they also have a bonus skill that's called sibling. So if they are joined together in the same unit, either just by themselves as a two-figure unit or joined to another squad, they both gain expert on all their weapons.
Yeah.
And that's really, really cool. Talking about their weapons, they have a pistol each and a new close combat weapon called a Guandao, which has 3-1 against all infantry. So that's 6 dice versus infantry in close combat with just these two and expert, if they are joined together.
Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. In combination with infantry ace, as long as they are together, they can be, dishing out some damage, especially in close combat.
So if you can get these guys close to like an enemy hero or an enemy command squad, they can wreak some havoc.
Yeah, I mean, since the phoenix since the dragon also is assassin.
Oh yes.
I mean, assassin expert attacks. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and the infantry ace, so you can maybe even sustained attack.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite a lot. That's 13 points just for the two, and if you want the kind of meat shield to make sure they survive, that's at least another 5 points to get them the other. But still, it's powerful. Very interesting to see how people are going to use this guy and this girl.
Yeah, definitely.
The other new release has also been very much anticipated by a lot of people, not at least me. The Desert Scorpions Dodge trucks, they are finally here.
Yes.
And we have the first 3 variants of them, the command truck, the transport truck and the gun truck. That's the phaser version.
Mm-hmm.
What was kind of not anticipated as much, which was kind of a pleasant surprise I think to many, is that the command truck version actually has 2 variants. It's the Desert Scorpions faction version, but it also comes with a block version.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really, really good, because now I think all the blocks have parity when it comes to cheap command vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have the famous Kommandowagen, which is not as prolific anymore since the cost went up. But now all the blocks have access to at least somewhat cheap command vehicle.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the Allies have been needing this command truck for quite some time now.
Yes.
So it's good that it comes both as a faction and as a block vehicle. But just to quickly touch on the Kommandowagen, in my opinion, the points are fair. The problem with it is it's limited passengers.
Mm-hmm.
It went from passengers 6 down to passengers 3.
Yeah.
Which means you can't put the unit in it anymore. In my opinion, it would have been best to put it at passengers 5, so it would not be possible to put both a unit and a hero. That was basically the problem.
Yeah.
That you can put 2 officers in it at the same time.
You still can do that, but it's much more expensive, because you could put Tina with Hyena and Desert Fox, for instance. But that's a lot of points.
Yeah, but I mean, it's limited to 3 passengers, isn't it? So you can't put a command unit and command officer hero in it.
No, that is true.
And a lot of people did that before. They put separate hero and a command squad in it. So and that combination was a bit too good. So I'm happy that went away. But still, these days nobody plays the Kommandowagen anymore.
Yeah.
Before, like, a lot of players played it, and now nobody plays it.
So that kind of... But as I said, we still see the Kommandowagen turn up from time to time, but it's definitely not an auto-include, which is basically were before.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good that it changed, but it changed just a little bit too much. But anyways, What about the other trucks? The gun truck and the transportation?
I really like these. Like I said before, the gun truck has two main weapons. It has the phaser gun and it has a recoilless rifle. They all three variants have, I think it is 3 machine guns, one front and one left, one right. So it can shoot in various directions. It doesn't have the flexibility of having turret weapons on the machine guns, which I think is good for the points cost, because these are quite cheap and they are quite fragile. They are only vehicle 2, so they will blow up if someone sneezes too hard next to them, basically.
Yeah, they are super glass cannons, really. But
yeah, and that's just in the stats and also in the kind of way you're supposed to use them, I think. The gun truck, of course, the phaser gun is not that strong. It's only 3-1, I think, and 1-3.
4-1 and 1-4.
Yeah.
So it's the same as the Honey, I think.
Yes, that's correct, I think.
Just a little bit stronger than the Humber one, for example.
Yeah.
But still not very strong. So.
Still not very strong. But you can fit 3 of them and just go to town and try to outflank and just harass the opponent with them, basically. I think the most interesting one is the transport truck. Because it's fast, it has a carry capacity of 6 passengers, and it has the assault vehicle skill.
Yeah.
That means that you can march move with it in, and then the passengers can activate and they can exit the truck and go forward. This could be just defining skill for the Desert Scorpions, I think.
Yeah.
3, and we haven't seen what the infantry is going to be like. We know there are probably Soldier 1 infantry coming. The only infantry we have so far for the Desert Scorpions are the Soldier 3 phaser squad.
Yeah, but
the French Foreign Legion guys.
Yeah, but I think those should be really good with this combination.
That's exactly what I was thinking. 3 transport trucks with one of these phaser guys in that's quite a lot of range.
Yeah, they can put out a lot of hurt, actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, range it's their problem.
Yeah, if you look at that squad just by themselves, they have quite powerful phaser guns. I mean, it's 3 guns that put out 2, I think 2 dice, 2 damage each. So that's 6 dice, 2 damage each, and it's phasers, so it ignores cover. So that's really good. It's range 4, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But they only move 2-3.
2-4 actually.
They moved 2-4.
Yeah,
so that's a little bit.
But still,
that's really that's slow.
Yeah. So if you can drive them in like with speed 5 in this truck, and then they disembark and they can actually do something basically on first turn, or at least on second turn. They don't have to just run and then get killed.
Exactly. So you. Potentially, you could march move in with a truck 5 spaces. You can then activate these guys, move an additional 2 spaces, and then shoot 4 spaces. So that's 11 spaces of threat in round 1.
Yeah,
and that's guaranteed unless someone blows up the truck, of course.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to be wary of.
Always the downside.
Yes, and that's very interesting, because this kind of mirrors the Luftwaffe with the airdrop in a way. That you get the potential to reach almost the entire field, but it comes with a downside. It comes with a very big risk.
Yeah.
But this is more of a risk that you can play around rather than the Fallschirmjägers, where you just have to roll and hope. Here you can be sneaky and put your truck in a hard to reach place, and it's more gamey that way. And I really enjoy that. It's gonna be really fun to see what these can do.
Yeah. And actually we just basically passed from the gun truck a bit too quick, because the gun truck also has the raid skill.
That's true. And that's very fun. Also, this is the first vehicle we've seen with this skill. And for those who haven't seen this before, it basically allows the truck to move, then attack, and then move again.
Yeah.
so you can really do the hit and run tactics. The only caveat with it is that if you use this skill, then you cannot reactivate this unit until its next activation.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes up for it, I think, because otherwise I understand it might be too powerful.
Yeah, I think so. So
that's a good compromise.
Yeah, I think it looks like a really interesting and good rule, but not overpowered one.
Yeah, and especially on this truck, because like we said, the main weapons of it are okay. They're not that powerful. So that's basically what you do. You peek around the corner, you take pot shots, and then you go and hide again, and maybe you, well, maybe not destroy something, but at least you take some hit points off it.
Yeah, sure.
And then you can do it again.
Yes, I mean, up to like medium walkers, it can actually dish out a lot of damage. Like
if it hits.
If it hits, of course. Yeah, potentially you have like 8 damage against vehicle 4, 7 damage against vehicle 5. So it's definitely dangerous for a lot of other vehicles. But then again, it is 13 points, which is quite a lot for only vehicle 2.
Oh yes.
So it's a very light vehicle. It costs some points, but it also have potential to be dangerous and really annoying.
Yeah, and this I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is going to do, because this is going to force the player who's using it to play differently than they maybe do otherwise. Mm-hmm. It's also going to force the player playing against it to play differently, because you have to think about the potential places this can go and then go back and try to outflank it, and it could be really of a chess match with this thing.
So was there any discussion about reactive attacks when doing one of these raid actions, when you move, attack, move? When does the reactive attack takes place? Is it like after the first move, or is it after the attack, or? Yeah,
that's a very good question, and I think there's not been a consensus of it as yet. I think there might need to be an official ruling in the Rules Errata or FAQ at some point. But the way I see it, at least, is if I remember correctly, the base rules say that if the attacking unit does three actions, then the reaction happens after the second one.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how we have been played it, but then I remember some kind of clarification that, like, for example, if you have the move and fire skill or something, and you perform or if they have the charge skill and you perform a march move plus attack, then...
and that's the thing, because march move is the only exception. Okay. If one of those 3 actions together is a march move, then that's an exception. Then it happens in the middle of the march move.
Right.
So it's kind of fuzzy. I would very much like to have that whole kind of rule section clarified completely, because there are some weird exceptions. I know it happened in a game on one of our kind of 3D boards, where you can move up and down on ladders, moving up, and there's a kind of a half step at one point that you could move 2 steps up to a floor, but there's not a floor in the middle, that's just a step. So what happens if you march move up on that half step? You stand there where there's actually not a space in the actual board,
or sort of our specific terrain.
Yes, but, of course,
yeah. But anyways, it should be perhaps clarified with reactive attacks, exactly when does it happen during one of these raid actions.
Yeah, and that should be simple. Just it happens here or it happens there, because the raid rule or the raid move itself doesn't change.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of thinking and hoping that it's the reaction is going to happen after the first move before the attack, because to me that gives it results in a lot of, you know, intense situations where it's super important that you succeed or super important that your opponent fails or whatever.
Oh yes.
So that's one of the really fun moments in the game.
Absolutely. I just thought of another situation that might be later on, because it doesn't affect vehicles. But if an infantry unit gets the raid skill and they have a stimulant, what happens then? Because as we know, march moves and sustained attacks count as 2 actions, so you can never do more than 3 actions. Do you just do the normal move, attack, move, and then keep your stimulant, or does the stimulant kind of override? And if you have the move stimulant, you do a march move and attack, and then you just skip the next. What happens there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have the feeling it's gonna come a few more of these questions since it's a completely new skill. There's probably some interactions that need some clarification. In the text of the raid skill, it says it can spend all its actions to do a raid special action. So I'm guessing that
kind of overrides everything else.
Probably. That's my guess, at least. If you do this raid, you can't do anything else, basically, if you have stims or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
I think that's how the studio designed this rule.
Yeah. And one final point about the trucks, the actual box that it comes in. And I must say, I really like this, because this is an evolution of the boxes that we've seen so far, the kind of just standard grey or just unpainted cardboard all the way around. But now we actually have some Dust 1947 stencils on almost all sides. We have the web addresses for dust1947.com for most international territories. We have dustusa.com and warfactory.pl right on the box.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, and I really like the look of it, because it looks very much of the era with all the cardboard and the kind of stencils, and it looks just great.
Yeah, that's really nice, and then that printing is also going to look a lot better on the shelf in
yes,
a local friendly store.
And that's a very important point.
Yeah, that's a big step forward.
And the final new release since our last episode, new Boblan Rubble train pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Not much to say there, I think, but at least apart from the fact that I think we have quite a lot of more scenery pieces coming up if we go by the list at the end of the Condor book. And this is one of those pieces. And as usual, they look great. If you've handled these in real life, you know that these are just solid resin. They're heavy. They feel really good.
Yeah, very nice gaming pieces. Like you said, the weight is really nice, and of course the details they are just fantastic. The details are amazing.
And very easy to paint.
Yeah.
Very simple. If you have any qualms about that, it's just because of all that surface detail. Just some base coat and dry brush, that's going to look fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We also had some very interesting previews. Gen Con was on. That was when the whole Operation Condor was released to the world. But there were also some previews on stuff we knew was coming, but we haven't actually seen in actual finished form. That's the Cthulhu minis. There were quite a lot of new pictures involved. We have the really big winged Cthulhu beasts, kind of the avatars.
Mm-hmm.
We have the big, excuse my pronunciation if there's any Mythos expert, but Nyarlathotep. Big kind of tentacled with enormous mouth poking up. This thing looks like it's, what would you say, kind of like 2 decimeters high or something?
Yeah, I saw a couple of photos there, and they look really big, and they look absolutely awesome in my opinion. I was when they first announced Mythos, I was a bit worried about how things were gonna look, but so far what I've seen, I think they look absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure if I'm gonna start collecting them. I haven't really decided yet, but they look really nice. So it's gonna be really interesting to see like full stats for them, and I'm guessing they will have some kind of platoons as well. I'm not sure how military organized they actually are, but still.
Yeah, the only kind of foot soldiers we've seen so far are the cultists, and they were also on display. And the cultists, they look very Middle Eastern, kind of stereotypical, kind of terrorist look, unfortunately, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
One interesting thing is that it seems that all the figures we've seen so far have been female.
Right.
So that's an interesting detail.
Including the monsters?
Maybe, we don't know.
I'm not gonna check.
Well, you know how it is. You should ask how they want to be. Kind of.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. We've also seen one hero, and this is kind of Tina and Hyena style. It's a cultist female hero with an animal, and in this case looks like a big saber-toothed tiger, kind of, or kind of dire wolf, something in between there.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that she's actually on a base that we have never seen before. It's on a kind of version of the normal infantry base, but it's not round. It's more oval. It's. I actually looked this up because I'm a geek that way. It's the official name for that shape is a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a rectangle with half circles at the ends.
Right.
I think it's the same shape that the Allied planes use, but it's for the size of an infantry.
Yeah, a bit smaller.
Yeah. So that's just kind of an interesting little nerdy detail.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no stats or more info about when these are coming at the moment, unfortunately. But I think, I'm looking forward to seeing these and what they can do.
So yeah, didn't the studio say something about Christmas time for the Mythos?
Yeah, that's what we've heard. And if they're at this point, it looks like the minis are more or less finished.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's quite a possibility that that's going to be true. So let's cross our fingers.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see them all.
Little Christmas present from the great old ones.
Exactly.
And I think one of the reasons that the studio is doing this is, of course, Cthulhu is cool, but also to kind of bring new eyes to the game. We've discussed this before, kind of the whole purpose of bringing in Cthulhu into it. And that's also one kind of topic that we've seen on the Facebook and on Board Game Geek and on other sites as well that's come up. How do you get started with Dust 47 at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that we've been kind of thinking about a lot of ourselves, since we are doing a lot of demo games and trying to get new people into the game. So if you just start by thinking, okay, I'm interested in getting into this game, what's the first step? How do I get started?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out at an event and doing some demo games, there's always a lot of people stopping by, looking at the miniatures, looking at the terrain, and they think it looks really cool. And some of them play demos, some of them don't, but there's always a lot of questions like, what are these minis? What game is this? People who like the game, who try it, they always ask, where do I get it? Where do I start? So for you guys who are also out doing demos or thinking about doing it, make sure you have some kind of, I would say some kind of like printed something you can give to that player with some website addresses, give them some tips on stores, either physicals or online stores where they can get this stuff. And I would also say, if possible, you should have some kind of like a couple of the starters with you, or at least show them. You can have the boxes and show them, even if you don't play with the exact minis. Something to point at, something to show them so they get a clear picture in their head. And yeah, I would say something, at least like a piece of paper, something so they don't forget it.
Yeah.
Something they can bring home and immediately just look at their computer, just check it.
Yeah, just to have something tangible in your hand that does quite a lot, so you don't have to remember, oh, what was it that guy said? Because that kind of increases the odds quite enormously that they just forget.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Exactly. And I mean, if you have the starters, of course, it's nice to play with them. Personally, I think the starters are maybe a bit too small to do demos with, and I'm not sure they are also super, how would you say, like super balanced. Yeah, they're balanced against each other, sure, but I don't know, since there's not that many units, battles can be a bit weird to me, at least. I feel that if you just play starter versus starter, sometimes it doesn't give a fair image of the game, actually.
That's true, and that's something that I think you should be clear when discussing the game with a new potential player, that the starter versus starter kind of play is probably going to get a bit less interesting quite fast. But add at least just one more infantry squad, or one more walker. That would do quite a lot. Yeah. It's not that much. I mean, you could start with kind of aiming for 50 points. Most of the starters are around 30 to 35. So if you aim at getting a starting army at 50 points, then you're going to get a much more kind of level idea of what the game actually entails and how it actually moves and plays.
Yeah, when I put together demo forces, I usually I put them together like somewhere around 50 points, and I also like avoid super specialized units, units with too many rules on them and stuff like that.
Just keep off officers is one of the tips I've heard for the first games, because that kind of complicates things.
Yeah, it does, but to me it's not that bad actually. I think you could use officers, but don't use multiples of them. Maybe one on each side, not more than that. Or you can use like one hero with the officer.
That's probably better than that use one hero with the officer skill than to use a command squad.
Yeah, I would actually say so as well, because the command squads, you get a lot of choices there, which can be kind of overwhelming for new players. So try to just keep it simple. Choices in a game are good, and I think they are good in demo games as well, because it makes the game more interesting, but keep it kind of simple anyway. The players should have some choices, but not too many or too complicated choices. That would be my tips, basically.
Absolutely. And if you go just by the specific, I know that at this point there are still some of the older kits that you can get quite cheap on a lot of places. The older walkers from the Fantasy Flight era, for instance. Is that something that you would recommend for new people to buy at this point?
It really depends. Some of them are still going strong, still very useful. Some of them not so much, but I mean that can also change in the future. So it all depends on the price you pay. And then again, all models are looking super cool still. So
That's
even if it's not that great in the game at the moment, most players, I would say, they enjoy cool models anyway. So there's not too many really bad choices when you're buying dust models.
And that's actually a good point, because if we look at the units the way we do as from kind of regular players, and we play high level tournaments and stuff like that, we have a different kind of perspective than most other people do. And I actually don't think that the difference between what we consider a good unit and what we consider a bad unit is that big in all the cases.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So for a new player, I don't think that matters that much.
No, and also you have to also kind of you need to know what kind of event you are demoing at. Is it a gaming event where all the players are hardcore gamer and have played lots of other games? Then you can of course do some more advanced stuff, maybe play bigger or use all the command squads and everything. If you are on some kind of other event where the people are not hardcore gamers, you have to settle on a completely different level, basically.
Yeah, like for instance, a few months ago we were at a Model and Hobby fair.
Yeah,
and that was just normal people, if you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
people
that.
interested in models, not models for gaming, but models just for building and painting.
Yeah.
Or radio controlled stuff, for example. So yeah, there was a lot of people there who never played this kinds of games before. So
and I would say for you people out there that have the opportunity to go and do demos at that kind of events, absolutely do, because this game is fantastic as kind of a stepping point for people who are already interested in modeling, I think.
Yeah.
More so than a lot of other games, actually. Because it's less complicated, it's easier to get into, and the models are really, really cool.
Yeah.
So that's and actually they can also use a few models they might already have in some cases. You never know. I think that's it for this month. So I would like to thank all of you for listening, and thank you, Magnus, for finding some time in your busy schedule as well as mine.
Yeah, thank you as well.
And until next time, we will see all of you on the battlefield. All music used in this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. If you want to get in contact with me and this podcast, you can email dustwarjournals@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at dustwarjournals.